And here with Mr. Darryl Strawberry, and Darryl, very inspirational speech by you today. And I know you hope to touch a lot of hearts today. Do you feel like when you go to these events, can you tell ones that you might have affected immediately? Or do you ever have feedback that you talked to me like 10 years ago and it really made a difference?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the guys really listen in, especially when it has to do with being a former baseball player and they being baseball players. They know the importance of what I'm talking about. They know I know what I'm talking about. I've been there, done that. And so I think it helps them to understand a little bit more about themselves, and hopefully it resonate more about not just putting on the uniform, but just having the character of being the man that God created them to be. And I think if they can get that part of their life, it's going to, take their character in a different way, a different direction, and not make so many mistakes. I think a lot of times, just because we play sports, we think we can live any kind of way and do any kind of thing. And, hopefully today has had an impact on some of those where, I can play, but I can still have this right character about myself.
I've read a lot of stuff over the years. You kind of, we're about the same age actually. And one of the things I read recently was you talking about your wife coming into crack houses and pulling you out of there. And those days, I know you're so grateful what God and she did for you at that time. What was it like living that kind of lifestyle where you went from, being the top of the mountain in baseball to down hanging with other people in these crack houses?
Well, it's a darkness that come upon your life. Like I said, putting on a uniform just make you a baseball player. It doesn't make you a man. It just make you a person, and you're gonna have some downfalls. We all fall short, in life, and some of us are able to get out, and some of us not. And those were some really hard times, difficult times. And my wife today, Tracy, over 15 years, 21 years, 22 years ago, she was the person that God used to pull me out to lead me into my destiny. So that just shows you that He has a plan for your life and has a purpose, but He's going to always do what He's always done. He's going to use people to help people. And if we can get beside ourselves and realize that people come from broken situations, people are hurting, they don't grow up with a silver spoon in their mouth, and we think they do because they have this certain lifestyle, but that's not usually the case. I was broken before I ever put the baseball uniform on. So if you don't ever deal with the broken pieces of who you are, they're gonna always be there, until you get healed. And my wife was the center point of God leading me back into the church and getting me back on the right track, and would eventually lead my life back to the Lord and bring about a transformation, and would turn me into an evangelist where I would travel the nation over 250 times a year preaching the gospel. It's incredible. It's incredible what can happen in one's life. All it takes is a moment of change. And when that moment of change comes in your life, you can have the victory on the other side again.
What's your relationship with Doc Gooden like these days?
It's good, and it's good. I've been close to him, and I'm always there for him to try to encourage him and love him through the process that he's been through, because I've been there and done that. For the grace of God, there go I. I'm just no longer in that place where I'm not active in that addiction anymore. I've surrendered myself into the new life, and I try to live according to the principles and love on people and go back just like Christ was. Christ, was with the sinners. He loved the broken, the lost, the hurting, and He loves to give them what He can give to them to set them free forever, and that's eternal life.
Baseball-wise, what's your feeling on the game today? It's all analytics. You got the shift coming into baseball. I think somebody mentioned, when they asked you a question about launch angle, good launch angle. What do you make of all these different stats they're throwing in there now? And you said it yourself, baseball, it's a simple game.
Baseball is simple. It's fundamentally sound. Go back to the basics. I think they over-exaggerate about all these other things, and I think it's not the game. I think shifting is not the game. I think upper swing is not the game. I think you got to get back to. I was trying to tell some of the players, be who you are. Don't try to be like anybody else. Everybody's not created to hit home runs. Like the guy asked me, what was the most important thing that I do? I work on hitting the ball the other way, even though I know I could hit home runs, but I didn't try. I work on just the fundamentals of baseball, and I think players need to get back to that. And the game needs to change a little bit more and get back to what it used to be.
Can you imagine what your batting average might have been? You could get people to play a shift against you, which they never would have been able to do. But
Yeah, I mean, you can easily hit 300 that way, and I think you see guys like hitting 30 home runs, but they're hitting a $190. How could you hit a $190 with 30 home runs? There's no way I would hit a $190 with 30 home runs, And so that tells me that they don't work according to their ability. I think they work according to what stats are all about. Stats come by playing the game the right way. So, you hope young players can realize that and realize that you don't have to be everything that everybody says you have to be in the game. You could just be you and utilize your skills to take you to the level that you're supposed to play at.
Can you imagine all-stars, or they're considering all-stars, guys hitting one under the Mendoza line, so to speak?
Never.
Not in your day, no way.
No way. They wouldn't even been the big leagues. They'd have been sit down a long time ago, regardless you got power, You've seen guys that had power that couldn't hit the side of a barnyard, and they never made it, back on the field, because it's impossible to have that kind of player in the lineup that can't consistently, put the bat on the ball, and I think that's been the problem. And I think the thing you see is guys don't know how to do that, go the other way. And I think a shift, when you got a shift like that and you got runners on base, all you have to do is put the ball in play, to drive in the run. Driving in the run is driving the run. Everybody said, well, you got to drive in the run to hit a home run. That's not true.
You mentioned, and this is the last one, Gary Carter, obviously a leader on your team. Why do you think his words, and I think it's probably God's will, but why do you think that that time his words didn't resonate, him being Gary Carter, the leader of your team and the leader of, a championship type team?
It wasn't that it didn't resonate. You know what happened was it did, but I just wasn't ready to receive it. I think a lot of us wasn't ready to receive it because we knew that he lived it, but I was watching him and I wanted what he had, but I just didn't have the guts to go do what he was doing.
Great. Hey, Darryl, I appreciate it.
All right.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks.